The first scream shattered the still morning air of Orisun Coastal University. Students froze mid-step, textbooks falling to the red earth pathways. Morayo Adekunle barreled through the lecture hall doors, her heels clicking like thunder on polished tile. "Move!" she snapped at anyone in her way, and the room parted as if afraid to stand in her path. Her hair, a cascade of chestnut waves, caught the sunlight streaming through the windows, giving her an almost untouchable glow. Kiki and Lola flanked her, smirking, sharing the thrill of her chaos. Morayo didn't care who watched. She had always been the center of attention, and she thrived on it. "Late again, Morayo," Madam Ibidun Alarape's calm voice carried from the front of the class, but her eyes, sharp and unwavering, bored straight into Morayo. She was small, hunched slightly with age, yet there was a gravity in her presence that silenced whispers and commanded respect. Most students shrank under that gaze, but Morayo only smirked. "Sit down. You'll have to do better than that," Morayo said, tossing her bag onto the nearest desk with casual arrogance. "I pay for this lesson, do I not? I will decide if I sit or stand." She leaned back, arms crossed, daring the elder to argue. A collective gasp rose from the students, but Kiki and Lola clapped quietly, mouthing, "She's ours. She's untouchable." Madam Ibidun's mouth twitched as if suppressing a sigh. "Morayo, I have taught many who believed they were untouchable," she said softly, "and most learned humility too late. Sit." "I said," Morayo began, her words cutting through the room like a knife. But before she could finish, she reached for her drink, a mango juice, and in one swift motion poured it across the lecturer's white blouse. Gasps exploded. Students froze. A droplet slid down Madam Ibidun's neck. Then came the slap. Morayo's hand connected sharply with the lecturer's cheek. Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. Kiki and Lola clapped. "Yes, that's our girl," Lola whispered, barely containing a laugh. Morayo's chest heaved with triumph, her heart pounding, adrenaline surging. But Madam Ibidun didn't flinch. She touched her cheek lightly, looked into Morayo's defiant eyes, and said in a low, quiet voice that seemed to echo in the student's bones, "A tree that insults the wind forgets its roots, child." The words hung there, strange and unnerving, yet Morayo couldn't see any immediate consequence. Triumph danced in her mind. The world, she thought, was hers. By the end of that morning, news of the incident had spread across the campus like wildfire. Morayo strutted down the corridor, assuming awe and admiration in every gaze, but whispers carried a different note. Some students avoided her, shaking their heads. Others muttered prayers under their breath. Kiki and Lola followed, still cheering her boldness. Morayo's laugh was loud, uncontained, a sound that seemed to defy the silent warnings threading through the campus. That evening she returned home to her parents' mansion, the doors opening before her knock, the servants already anticipating her mood. Her father, Prophet Tunde, sat in his study, Bible open, a gentle smile warming his face. "My daughter," he said, "how was your day at university?" "It was perfect, father," Morayo said, tossing her bag aside. "The lecture was boring. I told that old woman exactly what she needed to know." She laughed, chest rising with arrogance, unaware of the shadow creeping behind the edges of her triumph. Lady Bossad, her mother, appeared behind him, hands on her hips, smoothing the folds of her embroidered dress. "Morayo, you must control yourself. You cannot—" "I can do whatever I want," Morayo interrupted sharply. "I am who I am, mother. Everyone must respect me. Do you think the world would dare touch me when father's name is behind me?" Her mother froze, eyes narrowing slightly, the smile fading. Her father's brow creased. "Respect is earned, Morayo," he said carefully, "not demanded." Morayo rolled her eyes, stormed up the stairs, and slammed her bedroom door. Kiki and Lola arrived shortly after, flopping onto the large velvet sofa, chattering in excitement about the lecture hall incident. "Girl, they will never forget you," Kiki said, eyes wide. "You are legendary." "Yes," Morayo echoed. "Legendary. I don't even care what anyone else thinks." But that night, as she lay in her silken sheets, staring at the ceiling, a tiny unease flickered across her mind. Madame Ibidun's words repeated, "A tree that insults the wind forgets its roots." Morayo shoved the thought away. It was just an old woman's caution, she told herself. She was untouchable. The next morning brought subtle changes. The mirror revealed something faint at first. Her usually radiant skin looked duller, her eyes heavier. She blamed the lack of sleep, dismissed it as temporary. But by the third day, Kiki's calls went unanswered. Lola seemed distant, and students she once ruled over avoided her gaze. Morayo's confidence began to quiver, a strange knot twisting in her chest. "Why are they ignoring me?" she demanded of Kiki during lunch. "I did what we always do." Kiki hesitated. I... I don't know, Morayo. People are uneasy. Something feels wrong." "Wrong? They are jealous," Morayo snapped. "Jealous of my beauty, of my power. They are weak, and I am stronger." But deep inside, a seed of doubt had been planted. The exhilarating victory in the lecture hall now felt hollow. Her skin itched, her hair tangled, her reflection became a stranger. She tried to cover it with expensive lotions, oils, and salon treatments. But nothing worked. Every mirror seemed to whisper that she was no longer invincible. By the end of the week, Morayo's parents noticed. Prophet Tunde and Lady Bosaid exchanged glances that carried concern. She had always been pampered, shielded, adored, but now even wealth and status could not reverse the unseen decay. "Something is happening to her," Lady Bosaid whispered to her husband one evening as they watched Morayo pace restlessly in the drawing room. Tunde's jaw tightened. "She has forgotten what we have always tried to teach her," he said. "We can pray, fast, but this feels deeper. The seed of pride has roots we cannot reach with mere gold or sermons." That night, Prophet Tunda knelt by his bedside, praying with a fervor that shook the walls of their mansion. He dreamt of a broken calabash spilling golden water onto a dry field, and a figure with gray eyes standing silently beside it, pointing toward the horizon. He woke with a start, heart hammering, knowing that the storm was far from over. By the next week, the corridors of Orisun Coastal University seemed foreign to Morayo. Every glance she cast met with averted eyes, whispers that stopped as she approached. She had once ruled those halls with laughter and confidence. Now it felt like the air itself conspired against her. Even Kiki and Lola barely answered her texts, their smiles replaced by nervous hesitations. "Why are they treating me like I'm invisible?" Morayo demanded, pacing her bedroom, voice cracking slightly with frustration. "I didn't do anything wrong. She broke off, clutching the sides of her head. Her reflection in the mirror was cruel. Pale cheeks, dark under-eye shadows, hair lifeless despite the expensive treatments. The mirror whispered something she didn't want to hear. She was no longer the Morayo Adekunle who could defy the world. By afternoon, her phone rang. She picked it up with trembling hands. "Morayo." Kiki's voice sounded distant. "People are talking about what happened in class." "What are you saying?" Morayo snapped. "I am untouchable. You know I am." "People, they don't think so. They're afraid, I guess. Some even pray for you. It's weird." Morayo slammed the phone down. "Weird? Afraid? Pray for her." Her chest tightened, a heaviness she had never felt before. That night she lay awake, eyes wide, heartbeat hammering. Every shadow in her room seemed alive, every sound magnified. For the first time, she felt small, vulnerable, exposed. The next day at university, the whispers intensified. Students sidestepped her, some laughing behind their hands, others avoiding the benches she once claimed. Even professors seemed to look at her differently, some with pity, some with suspicion. Morayo's arrogance faltered. Her friends had abandoned her at the first hint of danger, or consequence. "I thought you were my friends," she yelled at Kiki and Lola when she caught them outside the cafeteria. We don't know what to do, Morayo," Kiki said nervously, glancing around. It's like something's wrong. With you." "Wrong? I am perfect," Morayo shouted, her voice breaking. She grabbed Kiki by the shoulders. "Do you see this? Do you see me? You cannot abandon me. I am—" "You don't understand," Lola interrupted, stepping back. "It's not just people. It's something else. You can feel it too, right?" Morayo stared at them, rage and fear colliding. "Feel what?" "The consequences," Kiki whispered, almost afraid to say it aloud. "Of pride. Of disrespect." Morayo laughed bitterly, but the sound was hollow. That night, alone in her room, she examined herself in the mirror again. Her once vibrant skin seemed drawn and tired. Her hair, styled by the best hands money could buy, refused to shine. Even her curves seemed to shrink, leaving her feeling fragile, almost exposed. For the first time, she understood that power, status, and wealth could not protect her from whatever was coming. By the weekend, her parents noticed the change. Morayo no longer laughed freely, no longer strutted through the halls as she had. The mansion, filled with luxury and servants, now felt like a gilded cage. Prophet Tunde watched his daughter pacing the drawing room, silent prayers on his lips. "Something is wrong with her," Lady Beauside whispered, gripping his arm. "Her body, her spirit, it's fading." Tunde nodded slowly, feeling a knot in his chest tighten. He had always protected her from consequences, always shielded her from the world's harsh edges. But this was beyond their control. He called trusted elders from the church and began intense nights of prayer, fasting and anointing, hoping to uncover the source of the disturbance. One night, exhausted from vigils and intercessions, Prophet Tunde dreamt vividly. A vast calabash floated in a dry field, filled with golden water. Slowly it cracked, spilling the liquid across the parched earth. Standing beside it was a figure with gray eyes, silent, commanding. He knew in that dream that the figure was Madame Ibidun, the lecturer Morayo had humiliated. She pointed to the horizon, her eyes unyielding, as if marking the path his daughter had strayed from. Morning came, and Tunde woke with sweat on his brow, heart pounding. The vision haunted him, every detail etched into his mind. He knew it was time to act beyond prayers in the mansion. Morayo needed to confront what she had done, to face the consequences of her arrogance. Meanwhile, Morayo's isolation deepened. At university, she found herself eating alone, walking alone, sitting alone. The fear and shame coiled around her like a serpent. She tried calling Kiki and Lola, but their responses were brief, distant. Morayo realized painfully that friends who celebrated folly abandoned her when reality struck. "Why did I think I was untouchable?" she muttered aloud one evening, tears slipping down her cheeks as she stared at her reflection. "Why did I think wealth and beauty made me safe?" Her pride, once her armor, now felt like chains. She remembered Madame Ibidun's words, whispered across the lecture hall. "A tree that insults the wind forgets its roots." The image of the gray-haired lecturer, calm yet powerful, haunted her. For the first time, she wanted guidance, not applause. By the second week, Morayo returned home, broken in body and spirit. The once proud, untouchable daughter of Prophet Tunde appeared fragile, diminished. Her parents embraced her with cautious care, understanding that indulgence alone could not repair what pride had damaged. Morayo, Prophet Tunde said gently, taking her hands, "You must understand that respect is not given freely. You must learn humility. Do you see that now?" "Yes, father." Her voice cracked, barely a whisper. I I didn't know." Lady Bost held her close. "We love you, Morayo, but love is not just provision, it is guidance. We tried to teach you, but you must choose to see." In that moment, Morayo's eyes filled with tears. She could no longer hold back. She felt the full weight of her arrogance, the betrayal of friends, and the collapse of her invincibility. She knew she had to seek forgiveness, not just from her parents, but from the woman she had wronged. But Madame Ibidun had vanished. Rumors spread that she had retired quietly, moving to a distant, serene compound. Finding her would not be easy, but Prophet Tunde felt certain that Morayo could not recover fully until she confronted the consequences of her actions. As the days passed, Morayo's transformation continued subtly. She no longer boasted, laughed loudly, or demanded attention. She listened more than she spoke, observing the reactions of peers and elders. Every glance, every whispered comment reminded her of the fragility of pride. "I have to find her," she said one night to herself, standing in front of the mirror, hands trembling. "I have to make this right." Her parents nodded in quiet support, understanding that true redemption required action. The path ahead would be difficult, humbling, and fraught with tension, but it was the only way Morayo could reclaim her health, her dignity, and her soul. And so the search began, the stakes rising with each passing day. Each step toward Madame Ibidun's hidden home became a journey through fear, regret, and anticipation. Morayo's heart thudded with dread and hope in equal measure. If you're enjoying Morayo's journey so far, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let's see if you can predict what will happen when she finally faces the gray-eyed elder. The journey to find Madame Ibidun was unlike any Morayo had ever undertaken. She clutched her bag tightly, hands trembling, heart hammering with a strange mixture of fear and hope. The city streets of Ajepe, usually alive with colors, chatter, and chaos, felt different, hushed, expectant, as if the wind itself was holding its breath. "Are you sure she's here?" Morayo asked Kiki, who had reluctantly agreed to accompany her, though the once bold friend now walked with careful caution. "Yes," Kiki said softly, eyes darting around nervously. I heard she lives at the edge of the city, near the old river grove. People say she doesn't like visitors. She doesn't forgive easily." Morayo's chest tightened. "Good. She shouldn't. I I need to face what I did. I can't fix this with money, charm, or excuses. I have to. I have to show her I am truly sorry." The river grove appeared at last, a quiet place where ancient trees leaned over the water, their branches whispering secrets from centuries past. The compound was simple, clay walls, wooden gates, and the faint smell of herbs burning in small clay pots. Every instinct screamed caution, yet Morayo pushed forward. A small door creaked open. Madame Ibidun appeared, her gray eyes calm but piercing. Time had not diminished her presence. It had sharpened it. "Morayo Adekunle," the elder said softly, yet every word struck Morayo like a drumbeat. "You come seeking forgiveness, yet you have not yet understood the weight of what you have done." Morayo dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Madam, I I am sorry. I was proud, arrogant, disrespectful. I—" Her voice broke, choked with shame. "I don't know why I thought I could do what I wanted without consequence. Please, teach me, guide me." Madame Ibidun's gaze softened slightly. "Stand." Morayo obeyed immediately, trembling. I am ready." The elder led her inside. The house was filled with the scent of burning leaves, water trickling from clay pots, and an aura of serenity that felt almost sacred. She gestured to a small wooden stool. "Sit." Morayo did, heart racing, eyes fixed on the elder. Please, tell me what I must do." "You must understand that pride is like a fire," Madame Ibidun said, voice steady. "It can warm or destroy. You poured your arrogance onto me, thinking yourself untouchable. Yet the consequences found you, as they always will." Morayo nodded, tears falling freely. "I understand. I feel them. Every moment, every day. My friends abandoned me. My body. My health. Everything is failing. I have no one to blame but myself." Madame Ibidun's eyes softened, yet they retained a firmness that sent shivers through Morayo. "You must perform a ritual of humility and restoration. It is not magic, child, but a reminder. Respect is not earned through fear or wealth, but through acknowledgement of one's place in the world." Morayo listened intently as Madame Ibidun prepared a small bowl of water and scattered dried leaves across the surface. "Place your hands in the water," the elder instructed. "Focus on humility, on respect, on the lives you have affected with your pride. Speak your apology aloud." Morayo did as she was told. "I am sorry, Madame Ibidun," she said, voice quivering. "I disrespected you, my friends, my peers, my parents, and myself. I promise to change. I will never let pride guide me again. Please forgive me." Madame Ibidun nodded, then dipped her hands into the water, touching Morayo's hands gently. "The healing begins, but it is not immediate. Humility must take root slowly. Friends may return if they see true change. Your family will guide you, but the rest is yours to earn." Morayo felt a warmth spread through her hands, then her chest. The tension, the fear, the weight she had carried for weeks began to lift, slowly, as if a long-held burden was finally released. Her reflection in the water seemed brighter, clearer, still not perfect, but undeniably improved. "Thank you," she whispered, tears now of relief and gratitude. "I don't deserve this, yet I feel it. I understand now." Madame Ibidun looked at her with a slight smile. "Never forget, Morayo. Pride brings temporary sweetness, but long-term suffering. Respect is not just for others. It protects you as well." The journey back to her parents' home was quiet. Morayo walked with measured steps, Kiki beside her, both processing what had just occurred. The city no longer felt oppressive, but alive with opportunity. Opportunity to rebuild, to correct, to live differently. Once home, Morayo's parents immediately noticed the change. She no longer spoke with arrogance, no longer demanded attention. She spoke softly, listened carefully, and even apologized for her past behavior. "Mother, father," she said one evening, kneeling before them in the living room, "I have learned the hard way that love without boundaries creates chaos. I I understand now what you tried to teach me. Please forgive me for my pride, for the shame I brought." Lady Bossid embraced her, tears in her eyes. "Morayo, our hearts were heavy seeing you lost, but you have returned with wisdom. That is all we have ever wanted." Prophet Tunde nodded, voice firm yet gentle. "True repentance is proven through change, my daughter. You have begun. Keep walking this path, and others will follow your example." Over the next weeks, Morayo's health improved steadily. Her skin regained its glow, her hair its vitality. More importantly, her heart lightened. She returned to university not with arrogance, but with a quiet confidence born of humility. She sought out peers she had wronged, offering sincere apologies and listening to their feelings. Some accepted, some remained wary, but she did not falter. One afternoon, as she walked through the campus garden, a group of students approached her. Kiki and Lola lingered at the edge, watching nervously. Morayo turned, smiling softly. "I know I was wrong," she said, addressing the group. "I hope you can forgive me for my behavior. I have learned my lesson, and I want to do better." The group nodded, some whispering, others smiling. Morayo felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She realized that real strength was not in fear or status, but in acknowledging mistakes and committing to better choices. That evening, at the mansion, Morayo reflected quietly. "I can never take pride lightly again," she whispered to herself. "Respect, humility, accountability. These are the true treasures." Prophet Tunde placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have begun, Morayo. Never forget this lesson, for the world will test it again and again." As the sun set over Ajepe, casting golden light across the mansion, Morayo felt hope and resolve stir in her chest. She had faced the consequences of her pride, embraced humility, and begun the slow, steady path to redemption. If you're inspired by Morayo's journey of humility and transformation, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment about a time you had to face your own pride. Let's keep learning together. The following morning, Morayo woke with a sense of purpose that had eluded her for weeks. The first rays of the sun filtered through her bedroom window, illuminating a face that still bore traces of past turmoil, but now held the calm of someone who had seen the consequences of her actions and had chosen to change. She dressed carefully, not to attract attention, but to honor herself in a way that did not demand admiration. At breakfast, her parents watched her quietly. Prophet Tunde gave a small nod of approval. Lady Bosaid smiled, but it was a smile tempered by understanding, not indulgence. "Today," Morayo said softly, "I will return to the university. I need to face those I wronged, not with excuses or arrogance, but with sincerity." Her parents offered guidance, but this time they did not try to shield her. Morayo stepped out into the city streets, walking with a steadiness that drew curious glances. The whispers began immediately. Students who had avoided her for weeks now stared, some surprised, some skeptical. Kiki and Lola lingered at the edges of the campus courtyard, exchanging anxious glances. Morayo took a deep breath and approached the benches where many of her classmates often gathered. Her heart pounded, but she forced herself to remain calm. "I want to apologize," she said clearly, voice steady, eyes meeting theirs. "I was wrong. I disrespected you, and I acted out of pride. I hope you can forgive me. I promise I will not let this happen again." There was a pause, heavy with uncertainty. Then a few nods, hesitant smiles, and finally, acceptance began to ripple through the group. Some whispered to each other, others offered small gestures of reassurance. Morayo felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she had not known in weeks. Connection built on honesty and humility rather than fear or power. Kiki and Lola approached cautiously. "Morayo, you really changed?" Kiki asked, voice almost disbelieving. "I have to," Morayo replied. "I cannot undo the past, but I can choose what comes next." Lola swallowed hard. We're proud of you, I think." Morayo smiled faintly. "Thank you. I hope one day you will understand the lesson I learned the hard way." Returning home that evening, Morayo found her parents waiting with quiet relief. She knelt before them once more. "I am sorry for everything," she whispered. "I see now that love without guidance can become dangerous. I will strive to honor the lessons you taught me and respect those around me always." Lady Bosaid pulled her into a gentle embrace. "You have grown, Morayo. True growth shows not in grand gestures, but in the way you carry yourself, the way you treat others. I see that in you now." Prophet Tunde placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember this. Humility and respect are shields. Pride is a weapon that turns on its wielder if unchecked. Keep walking this path. In the days that followed, Morayo's health continued to improve. Her skin regained its soft glow, her hair flowed freely, and she felt energy returning to her body and spirit. More importantly, she felt the lightness of humility, the strength of acknowledging mistakes, and the quiet joy of rebuilding relationships that had once been strained or broken. She returned to her classes, not as the dominant force she once was, but as a student who listened, who observed, who respected others' experiences. Madame Ibidun's absence still lingered like a shadow, but Morayo carried the lessons of their encounter everywhere she went. Every glance in a mirror reminded her not of her beauty alone, but of the humility she had earned through trials. One afternoon, Morayo was invited to speak at a small gathering of students who were struggling with conflicts or pride issues. Standing before them, she spoke openly. "I was once proud, arrogant, and disrespectful. I believed that money, status, and influence could protect me from consequences. I was wrong. I learned the hard way that true strength comes from humility, accountability, and respect. If I could turn back time, I would act differently. But since I cannot, I can only move forward with the lessons I have learned. Let my story be a warning and a guide." The students listened, rapt. Some nodded slowly, others wiped tears. Morayo realized then that her mistakes had become a tool for teaching, her suffering transformed into purpose. She felt a sense of fulfillment she had never known, a connection to the world around her that had nothing to do with power or wealth. Meanwhile, Kiki and Lola approached her cautiously. We want to try again," Kiki said, voice tentative. "We realize now that true friendship isn't about cheering for arrogance. We want to support you in the right ways." Morayo considered them, recalling the pain their absence had caused during her ordeal. She smiled gently. "I will give you a chance," she said. "But this time, friendship will be about accountability, honesty, and respect. If you stray, I will not hesitate to correct you. True friends grow together, or they part ways." The trio began rebuilding their friendship, slowly, with care. Morayo learned to listen, to forgive, and to expect the same in return. Her life, once defined by chaos and arrogance, now moved with intention, humility, and awareness. At home, her parents also adapted. Prophet Tunde recognized the limits of indulgence and began teaching through guidance and gentle correction rather than endless pampering. Lady Boseed learned to balance love with firm boundaries, understanding that true protection often requires difficult lessons. Together, the family embraced a new dynamic, one rooted in respect, humility, and accountability. As Morayo prepared for her final exams, she felt a profound transformation. She approached her studies with dedication, her friendships with care, and her life with purpose. The once bright girl who had believed herself untouchable now carried herself with quiet strength, aware that respect, humility, and accountability were the true treasures of life. The day she graduated, the sun cast golden light over Orisun Coastal University. She walked across the stage with steady steps, head held high, eyes clear and confident. Not in arrogance, but in the knowledge that she had faced her flaws and emerged wiser. Students whispered among themselves, some amazed, others inspired. Kiki and Lola cheered, but this time their applause felt earned, shared, genuine. Back home that evening, Morayo reflected on her journey. She thought of Madame Ibidun, the ritual of water and leaves, and the weeks of fear, isolation, and reflection that had reshaped her. "I am not the same person," she whispered. "I never want to be. Pride is tempting, but I have seen its cost. Respect, humility, and love. These are the foundations of life." Prophet Tunde, watching from the doorway, smiled. "Your growth will guide others, Morayo. Never forget this lesson. Teach it, live it, and the world will remember you not for arrogance, but for wisdom. And so Morayo's story became one of caution, redemption, and transformation. News of her journey spread quietly across the university and the city, becoming a tale whispered among students and elders alike. The girl who was untouchable learned humility, they would say. She discovered that pride is fleeting, but respect endures. Morayo carried these lessons forward. She nurtured friendships built on truth, guided others with patience, and treated every elder and peer with consideration. Her beauty, once only skin-deep and celebrated, now radiated from the strength of her character. She had been broken by arrogance, healed by humility, and strengthened by love and accountability. The sun set over the city, casting long shadows across the red earth streets of Orisun. Morayo walked home slowly, heart light, mind clear, and spirit at peace. She had faced the consequences of pride, embraced the path of humility, and emerged transformed. Thank you for following Morayo's journey. If her story inspired you, please like this video, subscribe for more African folk tales, and leave a comment sharing a moment when you faced your own pride or learned the value of respect. Let's keep the conversation alive and continue learning together.